You look at what Tucker and them, they can't say on those networks. And by the way, Brandon, I've reached out to both of them. I texted them both Dan Bongino and Tucker, and said, hey, you're welcome over here at Lindell TV at Frank's Beach. We would love to have them here as part of our team.
Oh, boy. It sounds like Mike Lindell invited Tucker Carlson and Dan Bongino, expats of Fox News, to be part of the Mike Lindell network. I love it. I love every minute of it. Of course, they denied. They didn't end up doing that, interestingly enough. But I wanted to talk about the absolute rabbit hole that Mike Lindell is going down right now. It is deeply entertaining to watch. I'm sorry, man. I feel bad for the guy, but I love watching this guy disintegrate into absolutely nothing, especially after all the damage he did to the country intentionally and maliciously. I'm here for every second of it. So watch this. Check this out. This is a reminder of the situation that Mike Lindell finds himself in, okay? Quick reminder, Steven Crowder, just some random YouTuber with 5 million subbies, not even 1% of the most subscribed YouTube channel on the entire platform. 5 million subbies, was offered $50 million. $50 million by the Daily Wire to be one of their hosts, right? So what's Tucker worth, I wonder? You know what? This is probably like an objectively answerable question. No need to wonder. Just loaded up our question gun. Let's go answer hunting. I don't know if I can even find the answer. Hold on. Wow. Apparently he was paid $35 million from Fox News annually. This is according to CA Knowledge, so take it with a grain of salt. And that may have been, like, because he signed the contract before he was really famous. He had a show for, like, years and years. But apparently he had a salary of $45 million a year for a while. It's really, really hard to tell. But the point is, apparently Tucker Carlson is worth somewhere in the vicinity, evidently, of the same amount that old Steven Crowder was offered. Like, what? So Mike Lindell, I guess, intends to offer Tucker $50 million, I'm assuming? Where is he even going to get that kind of money? Seriously, dude had to borrow $10 million in loans just to keep his business afloat, let alone coming up with $50 million to pay Tucker. That's crazy. You know what, in all fairness, it just clicked with me. Steven Crowder was offered $50 million over the course of 4 years. So actually he was offered like $12.5 million a year. And Tucker was getting like $40 million a year. So Tucker is still getting paid more than Steven Crowder. So yeah, what would the equivalent be? That'd be that'd be like $160 million equivalent for Tucker Carlson's contract. So Tucker Carlson was being paid the equivalent of $160 million, and Steven Crowder was offered $50 million. So I'll give you a little bit of context there. So anyway, I don't know where Mike Lindell thinks he's going to get this kind of cash to put down to hire Tucker or Dan Bongino to work at his stupid little Lindell Report TV show that he's got going on here. Check this out. Mid-June 2022. Listen to what old Mike Lindell gets. White square. God, he keeps coming back. Shoot. Listen to what Mike Lindell had to say about this contest that he was holding. $5 million contest to anybody that could prove that the election data that he held was false or did not prove the election was stolen. Listen to Mike Lindell lay out this contest here.
This event on the 16th and 17th of July, everybody, it's going to change everything. And I'll tell you, all the influencers that are invited, thousands of podcasters and TV hosts, radio hosts, that this is going to be the voice of the world. Brandon, I'm going to invite people from overseas, big organizations that have a big influence on the world.
I bet. Yeah. July 16th and 17th, is that what he said? 2022? Oh, looks like that passed, huh? And nobody even heard about it. How about that? So he's gonna invite everybody, every podcaster, every YouTuber, every political commentator from here to Texas, right? Nobody cared.
In the world, they're the ones that are going to be there. And they're going to be handpicked. I'm picking them. They're going to be there, and they're going to put out their voice. And you know what? After those 2 days, if there's any politician left in the United States that says there was no election crime and that they really are in love with those machines, they can sit behind those melted down prison bars made from those machines right next to Brad Rassenberger. We can build a whole big old new prison for all the people that were part of the election crime of 2020.
Yeah, and as it turns out, the whole thing was a lie. He held a contest to determine, for somebody who enters the contest, to determine if the contest was real or if the election data that he held was real. And guess what? Somebody discovered that the election data that he held, or I'm sorry, should put it in air quotes, the election data that he held was fake. It was all faked. Mike Lindell lied, set up a fake contest for people to try to decipher, and an IT guy actually deciphered it and came to find that it was nonsense. It was just garbled nothingness. It was garbage, all of it. It was like somebody got into a hex editor. I don't know if you're familiar with this terminology. And then just randomly typed in letters and numbers like at random. And then just exported the file and claimed this is 2020 election data and it proves malfeasance. It was nonsense. All of it. And a set of arbitrators, which Mike Lindell insisted upon, it was one of those conditions of the contest, the arbitrators decided the guy won $5 million. Not only does Mike Lindell owe $5 million to that guy, who will probably never see it because Mike Lindell is broke, but check this clip out. This is mid-March 2023, talking to Steve Bannon.
It's about, I guess, your loan, the loan you took out at MyPillow. People are
Mike Lindell took out a loan for MyPillow?
All over you about this?
Yeah, there last year actually was 3 separate loans as the machine companies continue to sue us for billions of dollars. And we had to borrow almost $10 million at MyPillow. We're a company. We're an employee-owned company. It just baffles me, Steve.
Okay, he's not an employee-owned company. That would be a co-op. That would be a socialist style setup for a company. That's not what this is. This is an employer-owned company. This is Mike Lindell is the employer and the business owner and the benefactor of every penny of profit. Okay? This isn't employee-owned. Just nonsense. But all right. I'm sorry, I interrupted. We left off with Mike Lindell explaining to us how he owes $10 million because he had to get a $10 million loan to keep the business afloat. Go on.
It just baffles me, Steve. You've got all these companies, these machine companies out there, these voting machine companies that nobody even knew their name before, but everybody protects them. And yet you attack a USA company, MyPillow, and my employees, and it's just disgusting.
Yeah, so what he did there was a subtle dig. He called his company a U.S.-owned company and didn't refer to Dominion or Smartmatic as a USA-owned company at all. Just said that his is. Now, one of the false claims that Lindell made about Smartmatic and Dominion is that they are owned by, like, the Maduro, like, Venezuelan Hugo Chavez government or some other nonsense like that. It's all garbage, right? But he's trying to draw the distinction there. He's trying to make it out as though Mike Lindell, poor persecuted Mike Lindell, and his poor persecuted company had to take out a $10 million loan just to keep afloat because he's being attacked by these socialist, communist, atheist, veganist companies that are out to get him. Venezuelan, Hugo Chavez, evil companies that are out to get him. Absurd. So once again, I ask Mike Lindell, How do you think you're going to pay Tucker Carlson $150 million, which, by the by, would be a pay cut from what he was paid at Fox News? How do you think you're going to pay him $150 million to come to your network? How's that going to work? It's not. It's a joke for him to have even suggested such a thing. He did, however, invite Dan Bongino. Now, I don't think he can even afford Dan Bongino, but that's at least a little bit more realistic. Just the whole thing is absurd, dude. Everything about it from top to bottom. The guy is broke as a joke, okay? He's not going to be able to afford to hire anybody of substance. That's why he has some dude named Brandon wearing plaid on the right side as the host, and not, Tucker Carlson or Dan Bongino or hell, even Steven Crowder or Ben Shapiro or something. No, he's got Brandon. For what it's worth, I think everybody's starting to realize that Mike Lindell is completely full of it. Like, completely. He went out there on his show with his little buddy Brandon and explained to him why he was right and this cyber guy that he owes $5 million to was completely wrong, even though Mike Lindell knows absolutely nothing about computers. That's been made obvious over the past few years. But listen to Mike Lindell complain about having to pay this guy $5 million for proving Mike Lindell as a fraud. The entire thing is crumbling in upon itself, finally. This is early May 2023.
The cyber room on the first day, and he had to ask other cyber guys how to use Wireshark.
Oh, God. He's trying to just destroy this IT guy's reputation and prove that he doesn't know what he's doing. Well, I'm sorry. I mean, a panel of judges, a panel of arbitrators that, by the way, you insisted on using in the first place, determined that he does, in fact, know what he's talking about, and you did, in fact, lie to everybody. That's neither here nor there.
This is the common thing that cyber guys use to open up any files or of data in the cyber world, and so he didn't even know how to do that, and
oh God, and then it just cuts to like nothing.
All right, we just lost Mike, so we're going to get reconnected with Mike Lindell. Glad to have Mike back here on the Lindell Report. While we're getting reconnected with Mike, let me remind you, we are brought to you by you.
Okay, yeah, but we're brought to you by you. That's because he doesn't have any advertisers that are willing to work with him because they all see how toxic he is. I don't work with advertisers because I'm just not really a fan of working with advertisers. I mean, I think I would, but that's neither here nor there. What I find most interesting about this cutout where Mike Lindell was talking and then suddenly just bars and nothing, just the color test bars, is that if you look closely, you'll notice that there's a little Skype icon in the top left corner there, right? So did Mike Lindell, genuinely get disconnected? Or did he intentionally pop up these color bars because he was talking about a subject he didn't want to talk about? Or he wanted to give the audience the impression that he was being persecuted, or what? What happened here? Why was the conversation interrupted? And genuinely, who interrupted it? Was it just like a genuine IT glitch, or was it Mike Lindell trying to give people an impression? Listen to this just one more time. So he's talking smack about the IT guy, okay?
The cyber world. And so he didn't even know how to do that. And
was it his lawyer? Did his lawyer say, stop saying a word about this guy because you're opening yourself up to even more liability? I don't know. But I'll tell you one thing that's for sure. The facade is falling apart. Mike Lindell and the beliefs that he espouses, the ideas that he tries to spread to society are all falling apart. People aren't believing this stuff anymore, okay? Luckily. Just listen to what he had to say to Steve Bannon here. Mid-May 2023. This is an example of him absolutely losing it, falling apart, and espousing ideas that are simply not believable to basically anybody.
Absolutely, yes. 83 million to 64 million for Biden. They stole tens of millions. It's actually a good thing every day that people are getting going, wow, think if this would have never happened, everybody, we would be boiled like frogs and it'd be over. Now everybody's, their eyes are being opened. Everybody's eyes are being opened. And we're going to
We'd be boiled like frogs, okay?
get to a great place out here. We're going to look back and say this was all in God's timing, not our timing. And everything had to happen just the way it did for a reason, to get more and more people
Dude, I love that railing behind Mike Lindell. I can imagine sitting at the top of that railing and riding that bad boy all the way to the bottom, but that's neither here nor there. People are not, quote-unquote, seeing this for what it is, okay? Mike Lindell is just looking for a pretext to continue spreading his nonsense. Unfortunately, Ronna McDaniel, the current head of the RNC, said she's not going to run again. She's basically the head of the Republican Party. You may not have heard of her, but she holds the legally elected position as head of the Republican Party. She is giving up on her position after this term. She has like 2 years remaining or something, 2024. Then she's out of it, understandably. She gave Mike Lindell an election crimes unit to take control over. So Mike Lindell, despite the fact that he has crushed any goodwill that he had among any independent or moderate voters, is still diving face first into a 3-foot deep kiddie pool of nonsense. That's what he's doing right now. He continues going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper in this, trying to convince as many people as he can possibly get, even though he has rammed his face directly into the bottom of this pool 1,000 times over. It's honestly kind of embarrassing to watch. Let's just take a look at where Mike Lindell started. Here's the interesting thing about this. At this point, what we're about to watch, this gained Mike Lindell so much prominence in the Republican Party, so much like notoriety. People knew who the guy was after he appeared on this TV show with Jim Baker and spread his lies all over the place. Just listen to what he had to say. I mean, it was downhill from there. He continued losing information, losing interest in the things that he espoused, losing followers from this point on. But this was just about the peak of his popularity right here. And this is what he had to say. Mid-September 2021, listen to his speech at Jim Baker's thing.
Why did the media respond to your documentary in the way they did?
Well,
Mike Lindell released a documentary, quote unquote. It was just all nonsense. It meant nothing. It didn't prove anything. It was garbage, but okay.
They buried it.
Yeah, the absolute proof. Let me tell you
They didn't bury it. They just didn't care about it because it was nonsense. It's called Absolute Proof. God, we should watch that. You know what? I'm going to write that down. There are a few things I want to watch. Reefer Madness, Absolute Proof, and we already watched Plandemic 1. We can watch Plandemic 2 and 3. And then there's this one that was about Monsanto and GMOs and how evil they are. And that actually convinced me a lot. That would be really good to watch, too. Let's keep listening here. Step back.
Why did the media respond to your documentary in the way they did?
Well,
they just buried it.
Yeah, the absolute proof. Let me tell you the key part of that. That's probably the only time where I had a little fear and I had to pray, get on my knees and pray to God. This was 10 days before the impeachment trial. And let me tell you, and 10 days before, and remember, at the time, that was like towards the end of January, you know, the impeachment trials were Tuesday following like the February 8th, okay? And this was about maybe January 25th or so. I'm sitting there, I go, wow, they're going to impeach him. And I had word that they were going to impeach him.
This was the first impeachment. So just for context, if you're watching 5 years in the future, The second impeachment was after January 6th, 2021. He only had like 2 weeks left in office or something like that. And they impeached him because he incited an insurrection on the Capitol building. Totally justified, but they voted against removing him from office that time. The first impeachment was when he was looking for dirt on who he believed to be his political opponent, Joe Biden. And Congress had promised money to Ukraine. Like, they had written it into the budget, and they had signed the budget. They'd passed it through the House and the Senate. Just went to the president's desk. It was veto-proof. There's nothing that Trump could have done to stop it. But he refused to sign it anyways until they agreed to open an investigation into Joe Biden, basically, or Hunter Biden or whatever, just so that he would get an edge against his political opponent. No other reason behind it. That's it. And he was impeached for that because that's wrong. Morally, ethically wrong. So that's what the first impeachment was over. It was totally justified. And he should have been removed from office for that alone. But okay, let's keep listening here.
We're not going to be able to show evidence at that trial. They would not have shown it on TV.
Sorry, let me step back a little bit, get a little context here, because Mike Lindell talks like 100 miles a second, so let's just take it one step at a time.
Maybe January 25th or so, I'm sitting there, I go, wow, they're going to impeach him, and I had word that they were going to impeach him. We were not going to be able to show evidence at that trial. They would not have shown it on TV.
No. Why would they? I mean, if it's actual evidence, then sure, but your documentary is not evidence. In no way, shape, or form does your documentary qualify as evidence at all. It's propaganda, nothing more. And he's complaining they're not showing propaganda at a trial. Really? Are you surprised by that, honestly?
Show evidence at that trial. They would not have shown it on TV. And they impeach him now. And what were they going to do? Take everyone January 6th in this big fake insurgency or whatever that you're against the government. Right. And guess who was number one on that list to come and get me? And
no, I don't think so, because if you were first on that list of people to pick up for being involved in January 6th, then you would be picked up in jail right now. Although, for what it's worth, I don't know why Mike Lindell didn't get charged for his actions on January 6th. You know what Mike Lindell did on January 6th? He flew a lot of the people in on January 6th. He flew them in on his private plane. I guess I can't find the exact video I was looking for, but this guy named Ken Peters, he's really, really popular among the right. In fact, he created a church and moved right next door to Greg Locke. And Greg Locke donated $400,000 or some crazy high amount. 200,000 maybe? I don't remember how much, but it was in the hundreds of thousands. Shoo, White Square, get. And he donated like an obscene amount of money to Ken Peters to build a church nearby. And he's like part of the church. Anyways, Mike Lindell, he said in a video, Ken Peters did. Ken Peters claimed in a video, Mike Lindell flew Ken Peters into January 6th on his private plane because he wanted certain specific leaders there who could rally people together and bring more. So what Lindell is saying here,
one on that list to come and get me.
Like, he was heavily involved in this entire process from beginning to end. I have no clue why Lindell is not in jail right now. He absolutely should be. But okay, they're not out to get you. They're not trying to kill you or whatever other persecution complex thing you have. That's just nonsense.
And they were coming. I'm going, God, they're going to kill me. You know, they're going to put me in.
This is absurd. They're not going to kill Mike Lindell. Come on.
Hang me, basically is what I'm thinking. And at that moment, he said, I got put on a documentary. Just put the evidence out there and make it.
And how did that work for you, Mike? Did it work out? Did you convince anybody? The dude has just lost it, okay? He's broke as it gets at this point, and he has no hope of hiring Tucker Carlson at about $40 million a year at a modest rate. It's not happening, okay? Not only does he not have the money for it, but Tucker isn't interested in working for Lindell. It's not going to happen. Sounds like Tucker has decided to just upload his stuff to the Twit moving forward, so there's that. Anyways, God, I love watching Lindell just melt down and do crazy Lindell-related activities. It's deeply entertaining to me. And honestly, I really, really, to the bottom of my heart, hope that this guy goes financially under completely. I hope that he's caught selling slippers out the back of a trunk in the future, because he's been so harmful to not just democracy, but society as a whole since day one. Let me know what you think about it in the comments.